Hello folks, or welcome back to the channel. I've been tagged by Kaz Outdoors to do a video on 5 beginners tips for first time wild campers. There's a whole raft of these going around the internet at the moment, so hopefully my tips won't duplicate too much what's already there. My name's John and I make videos on camping, astronomy and walking. If you like what you see in this video, then please check my channel out, as there may be others that interest you there. But in the meantime, let's crack on with today's video. First tip number 1, is to plan your trip or the location of your trip around the gear that you've got. So if you've got a £50 tent, for example, then I wouldn't go picking an 800 metre summit camp. There are plenty of decent locations that you can use without having to go to that sort of degree. When trying to find a location, it's a good idea, if you can, not to go too far away from your home, so it's possible to drive there, do a bit of a recce. You're interested in whether there's flat ground where you want to go, how hidden you're going to be, whether there's a water supply so you know how much water you're going to have to bring. And if you can go there first and just do a little walk round on a recce, then that's often a good thing. And I do that all the time here. I do a lot of my camping on the South Downs, and commonly I'll be going for a walk looking out for wild campsites that are suitable. Once you've pitched your tent, you've got the spot that you're going to be in, it's a good idea to let your loved ones know where you are. And what I use for this is an app called What 3 Words, and it simply uses the GPS on your phone and comes up with 3 random words that describe within 3 meters where you are. And the words really are random. They might be something like chair, lollipop, roundabout, for example. If your other half has this app, then they'll be able to see exactly where you are. But more importantly, the emergency services use this app now in order to identify where people are when they're in remote locations. I quite like hilltop locations rather than woodland ones, although I am going to be doing some woodland camping in an area like this actually this year, assuming we can get out again. But I like hilltop locations because I like to see the stars above me, as you can guess from the name of my channel, and I like sunsets and sunrises. Other people, they prefer woodland camps. It's kind of each to their own. Yeah, so when trying to pick a site, get your local OS map out, have a look at the area that's around you, look on YouTube and look on Google Earth. Those are all good places to check out initially where you might want to go, then go and do a visit, see whether there's a suitable spot there, and when you get there, send your What 3 Words to your loved ones. This little spot will do. Got a view of where the sun's going to set eventually over there, and a view of the sea down there, and it's relatively flat, so we'll set up now. Another important thing is to make sure that your sleeping bag is actually up to the job for the time of year that you're going, because there's nothing worse than being freezing cold at night. You won't get any sleep and it will completely ruin your experience. So use the temperature ratings that will be on the side of your bag to give you an idea as to whether your kit's suitable or not. If you're not sure how to interpret those ratings, because they have to be taken with a little bit of a pinch of salt, I did a video on understanding temperature ratings of sleeping bags, and I'll put the link in the description below. Of equal importance to getting a good night's sleep is your mat. If you're going to spend money on something, then a mat is quite a good thing to spend it on, because it will keep you comfortable, and also they've got temperature ratings. I've got 2 insulation mats. One does, I think, 5 degrees as a lower comfort temperature, and that's the one that I use sometimes in the summer. The one I use most commonly is a really thick mat, and it's got a -11 degree comfort rating, which I'm not going to get anywhere near. So yeah, check your sleep system to make sure that it's good enough for the time of year that you're going. Sleeping bag is Mountain Equipment Firewalker 2. It's a synthetic bag, and it goes down to about 5 degrees as a comfort level. My mat that you would have seen me blowing up earlier on is an X-Bed air mat. This is the thick winter weight one. This actually goes down very low, like -11 or something daft like that. People new to wild camping are often, and understandably, somewhat frightened and dubious about spending a night on their own in the middle of nowhere. And as I say, this is a perfectly understandable emotion, but you do get used to it quite quickly. And you know, one thing I would say is there's nothing in the UK that's going to eat you. You might get a fox or a badger or something come sniffing around, but I've never had anything like that. If you're camping in a forest like this, your main problem is going to be something like insects trying to get into your tent. So if you're scared of creepy crawlies, then make sure your tent's got a bug net. As far as mad axe murderers go, they've got better things to do than go wandering around in the middle of nowhere looking for wild campers. And I've hardly ever seen anybody while I've been out wild camping. And those that I have come across have been more curious as to what I'm doing rather than anything else. The most scared I've ever been in a tent was many moons ago, when Mrs. Camping Astronomer wasn't Mrs. Camping Astronomer yet, and Miss Camping Astronomer was just a twinkle in my eye. And we'd gone on safari in Africa, in Tanzania, but it wasn't one of these posh safaris where you get to stay in lodges and all that sort of thing. We were staying in these kind of Van Gogh 2-man ridge tent things that they used to use on trips in the 70s and scout trips and that sort of thing. And one night we were in the Serengeti and camped up, and there aren't really campsites with fences and gates or anything. It's just a clearing in the bush, and you could see about a quarter of a mile away a bunch of lions sunning themselves on a rock. And the driver of the sort of expedition truck that we had said that at night, under no circumstances were we to get out the tent and have a wee, and equally, if we heard the engine of the truck fire up and the lights come on, we weren't to get out and have a look either, because the lions had a habit of wandering through the campsite just to see what was what. And anyhow, we sort of all understood all of that, but I remember waking up in the middle of the night hearing this snuffling sound next to my ear by the side of the tent, and it's absolutely pitch black, couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And of course you're imagining this lion sitting there with a knife and fork in his pocket, wondering whether I'd taste better with or without ketchup. I was absolutely terrified, and eventually the snuffling died away and whatever it was ambled off. Unbeknownst to me, future Mrs. Camping Astronomer was also wide awake, hearing the same thing and absolutely terrified, but neither of us dare move or say anything, and we couldn't see anything, so we were both unaware that the other one was awake. So yeah, that's the most scared I've ever been, and fortunately we haven't got lions ambling round the Lake District or the South Downs or whatever. Chances are this thing was a mouse or something, and it's just your imagination getting the better of you. And that's one of the things, you hear the wind blowing or whatever, and you start to hear things sometimes, and that's what makes you afraid. There actually is no threat at all. So the first half of the tip is don't be afraid. There really isn't anything to be afraid of. The second tip is 2 large glasses of wine or a tot of your favourite tipple make a huge difference to how chilled out you are. So assuming that you do like a tipple of something, it's worth taking it along, because it will make you more chilled out and stop you being scared of little noises that you hear.
So I'm currently having a bit of quality time with my good friend Glenn Morangi. Nice bit of winter warming there.
Tip number 4 has to do with pack weight, and this is a subject that's close to my heart. There's a couple of sort of basic rules that people try and adhere to. The first one is trying to get your pack weight, or your base pack weight, down to about 8 kilograms. And your base weight is the weight of everything that you've got minus your consumables. So that's not including fuel, food, water, any drinks that you may have. And when I top mine up, it depends a little bit on what season it is and what tent I'm using, but I just can't get mine to 8 kilos. Mine's, the typical minimum is around 8.5 kilos. And if I'm using my preferred Van Gogh Torridon tent, which is a 2-person 4-season tent, it's around 10 kilos. The other figure that people try and stick to is that the amount that you should carry should be really not greater than about 20% of your body weight. And for me, that equates to around 13 kilos. But I'm regularly travelling with 15 kilos and sometimes even 18 kilograms. Now, this 20% of your body weight figure actually assumes that you're going to be walking over a significant distance, and typically on multiple days as well. But that's not strictly necessary. A lot of the camps that I do, local here on the South Downs, are within an hour or so of where you park the car. So taking an 18 kilogram bag isn't really the end of the world. And I've got stuff like tripods and DSLRs that are all kind of jumbled into the mix, if you like. So I struggle to get my weight down to the recommended limits. If you're going to do 2,500 feet of ascent in the Lake District and then camping overnight up there, for example, then it might be worth paying a lot more attention to it. But if you're a beginner just doing fairly local wild camps, then I'd suggest you don't spend too much time worrying about this base weight thing. My last tip is sort of linked in with the tip number 4 to do with the weight of your pack, in that try and take some form of luxury with you. Now, I'm terrible for this. Usually I'll have expedition type meals, either dehydrated or boil in the bag, but every now and again I like to take a steak or something nice out with me, and that makes a real nice difference to your experience. I'm actually sitting here on a chair. I don't usually use chairs, I've just bought this, and this is a Trekology chair that packs down into a bag like this, and it weighs about 900 grams, I think. And this is going to be useful for when I'm using my very small tent, because you can't sit and cook in it, you're forced to stay outside. So having a chair to sit on is really handy. And I've also, you might be able to see it down here, I've got a little table. This is a folding sort of plastic table that weighs about 50 grams, something really, really lightweight, and it's dead handy to put your stove on, or in my case here, my little cup of hot chocolate. It just means you're not bending down so much. Well, that's the steaks on the go. Fantastic. Another minute or two and I think we're done. It's a blinking massive dinner, mind you. God knows how I'm going to eat all this lot. Well, I must say that is unbelievably good. So there you are. Those are my tips. I haven't mentioned stuff like leaving no trace, because you should know that the first thing you'll find when you look up wild camping on the internet is to leave no trace. This is probably the single most important rule that you should be following. But I hope you've found my tips useful. So in summary then, I'll just run through them again quickly for you. So the tips then are to do a bit of research and pick your location such that your equipment is suitable for it. Make sure the time of year that you're going, the temperatures that you're going to encounter, make sure that your sleeping bag is up to those temperatures, and also importantly, don't forget to include your mat in that. Don't be scared or frightened. There's nothing really to be frightened of, and take a bit of alcohol with you. That'll help calm the old jangly nerves. Don't worry too much about your pack weight unless you're walking long distances, and take one or two luxuries with you to make the whole experience more pleasurable. So I hope you guys really enjoy your first wild camp. When you've done it, you'll feel really great afterwards, absolutely fantastic. And any nerves that you do have will soon disappear, and you just end up enjoying the countryside, watching lovely sunsets, all that sort of thing. So that's the end of my tips now, and now my job is to nominate 5 other channels to come up with their 5 tips. And the channels that I've picked are all small channels like mine, sub 1,000 subscribers. I'll put links to them in the description of the video, and it'd be great if you could click on them and subscribe to them, because when you're a small channel, comments, likes, subscriptions, they really give you a lift to see that people are enjoying your content. So the channels that I'd like to nominate are Wilderhope Adventures, Tea in Valhalla, Adam T Outdoors, Karen's Gone Wild, and Zero Trace Adventures. So lastly, I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope you've found it useful and maybe a little bit entertaining. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.